Thank you for everyone for wearing some colour or animal print today. We tried to think about what Mum would have wanted, and she certainly would have liked this to be a colourful occasion with you all wearing the most outrageous colour combinations available. She would say you look all fabulous. You all look fabulous. My earliest memories of Mum were from Perth, where we lived for 8 years. We did live in Kew, Brunswick and Footscray before then, however I don't remember anything from that time. Our father worked overseas for most of that time, so Mum was on her own to raise Juliet and I. Whilst Mum had her challenges in raising us, she gave us everything she had to make it an enjoyable childhood. I still don't know where or how she was able to buy so many toys, however she found a way, and some of my favourite memories were waking up on Christmas morning with a smorgasbord of gifts. She truly gave us everything she had. Mum used to take us everywhere in Perth, and I mean everywhere. Every weekend we were doing at least one activity. She took us to the museum, Science Works, ice skating, the aquarium, Kings Park, Hillary's Beach, the pool, onto warships docked from America, Fremantle, the cricket, the footy, Disney on Ice, fishing, the Royal Show, etc. I could go on and on. Mum tried her best to do as many things possible with Juliet and I, all whilst being the best dressed person at the place. She even walked the catwalk in a couple of fashion shows. Mum used to dress me and Juliet up in some truly outrageous outfits. Whether that was tartan coloured double denim, a bright orange corduroy suit, an Irish green dress with matching hat, or a Disney themed suit and vest combination. Our relatives can probably remember some of the unique clothing combinations Mum used to parade Juliet and I around in. Mum always had us at the forefront of fashion. However, looking back now, Mum was 25 years early with her fashion styling for us kids, based on what I've seen around Fitzroy recently. We couldn't afford any holidays growing up, so what Mum would frequently do to expose us to overseas was take us to numerous international food courts around Perth, where she exposed us to a variety of different cuisines from a young age. Whether it was Indian, Chinese, Italian, Mum was always trying to expose us to new things. Mum's friendship group was also very multicultural as well. Mum was a fantastic cook herself. Her breakfasts when we were younger are still my favourite, where she would make her version of a bacon and egg McMuffin, all legitimate ingredients, with a chocolate thick shake most mornings. Mum's desserts were also elite, with her specialties being chocolate ripple cake, jelly slice, and my favourite, her caramel slice. Mum made friends very easily. She would often quite make a friend whilst she was shopping for bargains or whilst taking us out to activity. Two of Mum's best friends from Perth are watching today, called Daphne and Teresa, whom she loved very much, and I know she brought joy to your life, as you did to hers. Mum was a social butterfly. Her enthusiasm to help and care for others is something that will always stick to me. The way she treated other people to me in her interactions was some of the sweetest moments I've ever seen. Whether it would be talking about how clever Evie was or how proud of Justin she was, her enthusiasm was infectious when speaking about others. We also had a third sibling that many people might not know about, which was called Kitty, whose name was officially Bubbles, which was Mum's cat, which lived to be 21 and in its prime was a monster of a thing. It could be argued that Mum treated Kitty better than us kids sometimes by feeding it organic kangaroo meat and salmon. One of Mum's favourite things to do was an improvised ventriloquist act with the cat, who would quite frequently let us know she was hungry or what was for dinner tonight, whilst Mum held the cat up by her head. Mum loved cats, as all of her family and friends would know, with the numerous items in her home that were cat related. To be the cat of Mum was to be the luckiest cat in the world. Many people said many a time, "Geez, Anne, I'd love to be your cat." Mum also had a big passion and love of music. She was a member of a choir in Warrnambool, which she enjoyed greatly, and exposed me to a large range of classics from an early age. Some of her favourites were Elvis, ABBA, the Grease soundtrack, Chris de Burgh, and some obscure Peruvian panpipe music always used to get a run as well when she was trying to sleep. The first CD Mum brought for me, back when they were a thing, was a double-sided Jimi Hendrix album, which just shows you what great musical taste Mum had. Mum was so supportive of Juliet and my musical choices, as she frequently ordered me Metallica CDs from Sanity back in the day, and also allowed me to play mixtapes in the car constantly. Now these mixtapes had two types of music on them, which was metal music and instrumental guitar shred. I don't think no other parent in the world would stand for some of the tunes I used to have on the tapes. However, Mum did, as she knew I loved the music. It would have been a sight for anyone stopping us next to us at the lights to see this lady with luscious red hair, oversized sunglasses, and two young kids listening to loud Metallica blaring from our car speakers. She also encouraged Juliet and I to take up musical instruments. She bought me my first guitar when I was 6. Mum gave this new classical guitar, and it was a few months before she enrolled me in guitar lessons. However, these weren't normal guitar lessons. As Mum couldn't afford private lessons for me at the time, she found a Guitar for Beginners course at the local community centre in a suburb in Perth called Warwick, which is a very sketchy area. The course was over 12 weeks with one lesson a week for what I think cost around $112. Mum enrolled me in this course. The problem was that it was a course for adults and that she brought me a guitar for someone who is right-handed. I play left-handed. For my first lesson, she dressed me up in a multicoloured skivvy with an orange corduroy pant and vest combo. Very stylish, and walked me to the class where she waited for me patiently in the car to finish. I remember sitting there in a big circle of adults with my upside down strung guitar and the next youngest person being about 25. To say it was a tough induction to the guitar was an understatement. Unfortunately, I came out to the car and started crying to Mum about how the lesson went. Before I could explain to Mum it was because my guitar was strung upside down, she marched into the teacher and gave me an almighty serve for making me cry. Once Mum had finished giving him an almighty serve, the teacher explained to her that I played left-handed and that she needed to get my guitar strung for a lefty. She went, "Oh." Mum took me to the music shop in the city during the week and took me back to the group lesson the following week, where I proceeded to go for the next 6 years with Mum waiting in the car every single time. They would make us play in an end-of-term concert where Mum was very proud of her son, and she let everyone in the audience know that I was her son. As I got older, my love for the guitar only grew, which Mum helped foster in every way possible. She did this by allowing me to practice my shredding skills all day and night at a volume that just shouldn't have been allowed, to the annoyance of my sister in the other room. However, Mum knew I loved it, which is why she allowed me to do it. This was a big thing with Mum, was that whatever us children were interested in, she would do everything in her power to allow us to pursue whatever our interests were. As Mum liked to buck the trend a bit, she barracked for the Essendon Bombers to go against the rest of her family, which are mostly Richmond, which was a great choice in hindsight due to her choosing the equal most successful club in AFL history. I still remember Mum taking us to Subiaco in Perth to watch them get flogged by either Freo or West Coast regularly. However, that didn't matter. Mum would still barrack hard despite being surrounded by feral Freo and West Coast fans donning an Essendon scarf. Later in life, Mum would join the local Essendon supporters group and go up to the games on the bus when she enjoyed watching her nephew Martin take the field. Mum had to fill the void of a father with my sports. The first person to ever have a kick with me was Mum at the local park, where she would kick the hardest end-over-end punts with me. I don't think this was deliberate, however it was greatly appreciated by myself. Like most parents, Mum was a taxi for me with footy and cricket. She would come to every training and game and sit in the car and watch me play. She would wash jumpers, cut oranges, and even was the occasional goal umpire for footy, which I greatly enjoyed because I knew if I kicked a point, she would give it a goal, which happened many times despite the pleas of the opposing players and parents. I reckon half of my goals come from Mum's loose goal umpiring decisions. Mum's two favourite words were darling and gorgeous. Everyone was gorgeous to Mum. On her opening line to me on her 5 phone calls to me a day was, "How are you, my darling? Just checking in to see if you are okay." I would do anything just to have one of those phone calls or voicemails again. Mum's favourite subject in the world was to talk about. Juliet and myself, which everyone who knew Anne would know all too well. She would proudly boast about whatever achievement I have done, no matter how mediocre it was. I would often meet people who I've never met before, who knew more about me than I knew about myself. There were quite a things that I had achieved that I didn't know I did. The last couple of years has been extremely tough with Mum's deteriorating condition, which Mum was formally diagnosed with progressive supranuclear palsy, PSP, on October 1, which has no treatment or cure. However, you wouldn't know this from being in the presence of Mum. She was so positive the whole time, and her face lit up every time Maggie, Penny, our dog, and I would visit her at Lyndoch. During this time, she wasn't eating much food. However, her appetite came suddenly back when we'd bring in McDonald's or local Thai food with prawns for her to eat. For the whole time Mum was in palliative care, which is around 3.5 weeks, it was my absolute honour to be able to be there by your side until the end to support you as you've supported me my whole life. During this time, Mum's appetite completely went, except for when we stumbled upon orange Gatorade and bacon-flavoured pork crisps, being the only thing she would eat until she lost the ability to swallow. Mum's very last words to me before she lost the ability to talk was, "I love you." To be able to have the last word from my mum to be "I love you" sums up everything Mum is to me. I would like to finish by saying thank you to everyone who supported Mum throughout the years. There are a lot of people who have, and it's definitely not lost in our family, the amount of support Mum had. Even though Mum may have fired you sometimes or stopped speaking to you, she deep down loved each and every one of you. Without signalling out anyone in particular, I would like to thank Mum's brothers and sisters for all their support and understanding throughout the years. Mum loved each and every one of you very much. She was so proud of each of you and your children, and now their children. Thank you to my girlfriend Maggie and our dog Penny for your support during Mum's final days. I wouldn't have been able to do it without you, and she loved you both very much. Also, thank you to Juliet. Mum was extremely proud of you and the family you've created with Andrew and Marlo. She loved you so very much. To honour Mum's memory, the next time you see an item on sale that would be good for someone you know, buy the item and give it to them as Mum would have. You will feel the same joy as Anne did by buying everyone she loved numerous gifts. Mum will forever be a part of me, and I know she'll always be there by my side when she is finished telling Martin, Maureen and Justin what we've been up to lately. Mum has given to me the best thing that anyone can give anyone, and that was unconditional love and support. You always had my back even when I didn't deserve it. You always supported my interests even when you didn't have the means to, and you provided me with the most amount of love that was humanly possible. It is an honour to be Anne Cleaver's son, and I'm extremely blessed to have had the most loving, generous and caring person in my life. It's now my turn to return the favour and tell everyone how proud I am of you. I will miss you so much, but I know you'll be by my side in spirits always. Your mother and father have their Anne back with them now, and your brother Justin now has his godmother back by his side as well. Rest in peace, Mum. You'll never be forgotten by all those people who loved you. Finally, if you haven't met Juliet or I, please make yourself known to us at Mum's Wake, which is at her brothers Dennis and Jeanette's recently renovated house, which is 31 Nicholson Street, Warrnambool. All are welcome. Rest in peace, Mum. I love you very much.
Thank you, Joel. Thank you, Joel, for your sharing with us, and Barbara and Katrina and Dennis. Let's put our hands together for all of us. Now let's stand.